Hi, good day. Welcome to another session this week. We are in the third week of our lecture, and we started some couple of weeks back where we were able to discuss extensively the concept of career as well as career development. We've been able to look at the stages involved as well as some of the things you need to do before you can venture into career development process. But today we'll be looking at career development plan. Career development plan. We made mention of this towards the end of our lecture last week, but today we're going to discuss it fully. And of course, we'll be looking at how well we'll be able to understand the meaning of what we're talking about today, that is career development plan. What exactly does it mean? We'll also be looking at the things that we need to avoid in the course of our career development planning, as well as we'll try as much as possible to understand how to write a career development plan. These are the focal point of our session for today. Now let's begin with what exactly do we mean when we say a career development plan. First of all, when we say plan, what is a plan? A plan is simply a process of setting goals and looking out for how these goals will be achieved. We can also say that a plan is a difference between where we are now and where we want to be tomorrow. Plan is actually how well you'll be able to identify your goals, set these goals, and look at how you can be able to achieve them in the future. Everybody has plan because every individual wants change. This society is dynamic, our environment is dynamic, even individuals are also dynamic. Definitely there's a need for us to plan. Plan is actually multifaceted. It could be religious plan, it could be personal plan, it could be socioeconomic plan, it could be so many things. But the type of plan that we'll be discussing today is what we refer to as a career development plan. Then what does it mean? It is a personalized strategy that is used to assist employees in achieving their career goals. The strategies, the principles, the guides that employees are equipped with to help them achieve their goals. And of course, the goal here is the career goals. So when we talk about career development plan, it consists of both short and long-term goals related to the employee's job and should incorporate employees' strength as well as future career aspirations. So it's not just about setting these goals. It should also incorporate issues around how these goals will be achieved. All of these are what we refer to as career development plan. Like we've been discussing in our previous slide, career development. Workers are not expected to remain static or stagnant or remain in one position. There's a need for them to move. That was what we discussed when we talked about the career ladder as part of the element of a career development. Career ladder, that is the steps you take to get to the top of a particular organization, or the route you take for you to get to a particular position. Now, you getting there is not just by fluke, it's not just by accident. It's actually done through a deliberate effort. And this deliberate effort is exactly what we mean when we say career development plan, don't forget, is a strategy that we personalize, that will help us or assist us to achieve our career goals. Having discussed what we mean by a career development plan, now let's move quickly to what are the things we must avoid in career development planning. The things we must avoid in career development planning. As you are setting goals for yourself, as you are identifying your strategic goals, both short and long term, there's a need for you to understand some things you must avoid. There are some things you must put to consideration that should inform how you plan for your career development. There are some things you must incorporate so that you don't enter into or take the wrong steps. And of course, in your exam, they can ask you what are the steps to avoid, what are the pitfalls to avoid, or what are the things that employees need to put to consideration when planning for their career. These are actually what we'll be looking at in this aspect. So the first thing is that you must ensure that your organization or your employer does not overburden you or impose any career development on you. And that's exactly what the first point here means. That is, guaranteeing or forming a contract with the employee by promising that the company will provide training or any other promised benefits to them. As an employer, don't promise your staff that you will get them involved in career development. Or as an employee, don't rely on your employer for your career development. Don't forget that your employer or the owner of the business, according to Karl Marx principle, is selfish. He's looking for every opportunity to maximize resources. And of course, if he career development plan will definitely go with money. And of course, employers are not interested in spending money unnecessarily. They will feel or think that career development is not necessary. So don't just over. There might be a plan, there might be a policy in the organization, but don't rely on this. The best thing to do as an employer is to tell the employee that you see how well you can help them. And of course, you as the employee, you should also do not put all your eggs in the basket of your employer. As you have set your plans, you should be the one to help yourself to achieve this plan and not to depend on your employer, because the employer might at times not meet the obligations that they've set for themselves. Another thing to avoid is avoid the manager owning or having responsibility for carrying out the plan. Don't have that mindset that your career development is in the hands of your employer or in the hands of your supervisor or your manager. Yes, partially, because they might appraise you, they might be there to monitor your performance, they might even recommend you, but the larger proportion of this lies in the hands of you, the employee. So career development plan belongs to the employee. You own it because you are the one, you have the skill within you. It is inherent in you. And of course, it should actually be your property or your duty and responsibility. So you can facilitate its pursuit and provide opportunities. That's as an employee, so as an employer to your employees when possible. But the employees must never make that mistake of allowing employers to decide their career development. Yes, they might set policies, they might initiate programs and strategies to help workers grow, but you need to be mindful of the responsibilities you are given. It has to align with what actually suits you, what works well for you. And that is why you must define your plan. That was what we discussed last week. You must define your plan, define your goal. What exactly do you want? You must align your self-actualization and your interest, self-assessment and self-actualization. Who am I? That's the interest. What do I like? What do I love doing? What am I skilled at? Then your self-actualization in terms of in the near future, short, medium, and long term. What do I want to achieve based on what I've possessed within me? So, when you align these two together, it should inform how well you plan for your career. So, don't allow employees, never make that mistake of allowing employees to drive a plan for you. You should be the one to own this plan. Another thing you must avoid is the mistake of keeping your work confined to a narrow discipline. Do not box yourself to a corner. So, do yourself a great favor. Try as much as possible to involve in decently wide, variety of work as early as possible in your career. Like we discussed, the stages of career development. The first one, we talk about the exploration. At that exploration stage, you are trying to jump from one work to another, from one unit to another, from one profession to another, to see the one that best fits you. So in that process, you must ensure that you acquire as much as possible different skills that will help you in your career. Don't be like somebody who just acquires skills that might not be necessary or useful. You must be strategic. That's why we call it. That's why I deliberately put that strategy when defining the career development plan. You must strategically set these goals for yourself, and in the process of setting these goals, you must understand the things you need. For example, you might study economics. Of course, economics. They deal with financial resources, monetary resources, and what have you. But don't just limit yourself to this. You can do courses relating to accounting. You can do courses relating to HR, because there's actually what we call the labor market analysis, which is actually a fusion of both economics, sociology, and personal management. You can do as an economist, you can also do courses on IT, programming, web design, and what have you. All these are the skills you need from different disciplines that would help you advance in your career. So you must do this at the early stage of your life, at that exploration stage. At worst, at the establishment stage, at the second stage, so that when you are still young, you are looking for job, the time is still there, no much responsibility, you can be able to acquire different skills, at that time. So don't box yourself to a particular discipline. Don't keep your work confined to a particular discipline. You must be able to explore and see or pick the skills you need from other disciplines that would help you to achieve your goals. Today's world is actually digitally driven. Of course, you understand what I mean. That is, we operate in the kind of world that is driven largely by information and communication technology, ICT. So every aspect of our lives, whether work or personal life, is actually dependent on ICT. So these are some of the things you can also factor in when planning your career. Then the next one is that avoid developing expertise in too many areas, and of course too many areas that are not important to your career. It's just a backup to the previous point we discussed on avoiding mistakes of keeping your work confined to a narrow discipline. Yes, you can explore from different disciplines, but you have to be careful that you don't get into disciplines or learn certain things or acquire skills that are not needed for your goals, that are not needed for your career development. You need IT skills, they are necessary. You need communication skill, they are very important. You need social interaction skill, you need emotional intelligence skill. All these things are necessary for your career. So these are the things you must learn from, not just jack of all trade. Let me give you a story. I had a friend who went for an interview sometimes for the role of HR executive in one in one organization that produces confectionaries. Um, After leaving school, he has BSc in accounting. He has he's an associate of NI period as public relations. He's an associate of CIPM. He's an associate of NIM, associate of chartered secretaries. He had about 5 professional qualifications. Now, at the point of interview, he did exceptionally well, but at the final stage, when it was to meet the executive, he and another guy qualified for the final round. But at the point of assessing his credentials, again, they now say, "Ah, you have this degree, you have this qualification, and all that. Now, tell us, where do you want us to fix you?" The interviewers were puzzled because he had different qualifications that did not even align together. So he was not picked at the end of the day. Why? Because he was seen as somebody who doesn't have a direction. So don't just pick up everything, all in the name of, oh, I need to just acquire degrees. No, you have to develop expertise in areas that are needed for just your career alone. Don't be a jack of all, a master of none. All your time and energy must be devoted to um, your career. Another thing to avoid is lack of planning. Planning is very key. Like I defined planning at the beginning of this session, that it's the process of setting goals and looking at how these goals will be achieved. Without plan, there's no how we can have a sense of direction. Without plan, there's no how we can measure our performance. Without plan, there's no how we can see whether we are working in alignment with what we've actually set for ourselves. So you must ensure that you avoid lack of planning or lack of focus or mismanagement and unprecedented events that can lead to mental and physical exhaustion. You must plan for your career. Don't just go for events. Don't just go for professional exams. Don't just go for qualifications that are not necessary for you, that will just take your time, money, and resources. So you have to manage all these things well by planning adequately. Another thing to avoid is avoid not being mindful of your local HR laws. There are laws that guide HR practice. There are laws that guide personnel managers and executives. So you should ensure that you keep yourself abreast with some of these laws, because they are the things that will inform you of what exactly should guide your career. Take for instance, you want to become an HR executive in one of the top or leading companies in Nigeria. Now, what is the HR practice at play in our country today? You should be able to know all those things. The kind of career goal you set for yourself will determine the kind of policies and laws that should guide your career aspirations. So these are the things you must be mindful of. What are the qualifications that you must acquire before you can become a top HR executive? What are the skills you must possess for you to become a top HR executive? These are some of the things you must be mindful of, regarding HR issues. Having said that, we now want to move to the last leg of our session today, and there we'll be looking at how to write a career development plan. How to write a career development plan. Don't forget, a career development plan is when you strategically set goals to guide your career, life or your career aspirations. So, number one thing we need to understand in writing the career development plan is that we must identify and define a primary career interest. What exactly do I want? What exactly do I love to do that would inform what exactly I want to venture into at the end of the day? So you must identify this and define clearly. So this is usually a general vocation, such as within a particular department or sector in a certain organization. What exactly do I want? What exactly do I want? Where do exactly do I want to work? Which unit, which sector do I want to play? You must be able to define this. For example, the employee may want to work in marketing within a retail fashion industry. May want to work in marketing within the banking industry, or within the advertising industry, or within the telecommunication industry, or within the oil and gas. So you must be able to identify your primary career interest. Now, please, I need to reiterate here that, for example, you want to become a marketer. The marketing approach you apply in oil and gas is different from the approach you apply in banking, different from the approach you apply in insurance. All right, and that is why there's a need for you to define it and identify these career interests. Secondly, you must identify long-term professional goals. Identify long-term professional goals. When we say long-term professional goals, these are goals that we need to achieve within 5 years or more. So this is usually the position and things that employees want to achieve within the company, as well as how they might get there, including any lateral moves or promotions. For example, you setting goals for you to become the HR manager in your organization in the next 7-10 years is actually a long-term professional goals. So it's a long-term professional goal. So you must be able to identify it. What exactly do you want? Don't just be like somebody who will just start work and won't have a direction. You must have a plan for yourself. You must have a goal set to be achieved in the near future. That's a long-term professional goal. Then, in doing this, you must incorporate the SMART paradigm or the SMART analysis. SMART is actually an acronym for the word simple or specific. Your goal, your professional goal, or your career goal must be specific. What exactly do I want to be? What exactly do I want to achieve? Where do I actually want to pitch my tent professionally or career-wise? It has to be specific. M there stands for measurable. You have to be able to measure these goals, whether you've achieved them or not. For example, you have a long-term professional goals for, let's say, 10 years. And for you to get that goal at that 10th year, there are some things you should have achieved. And of course, you can decide to set goals that, okay, every quarter you need to appraise yourself. Every quarter you need to monitor your performance. These are the things you must measure. Your goals, how well you are faring, how well you are doing. Because without measuring your goals, there's no how you can be able to achieve the overall goals. Take for instance, like I said, you want to become the HR head. You cannot just do that with your ordinary BSc or HND. You must go for professional qualifications. You must get certified in some professions relating to HR, whether local or international. You must go for trainings and workshops and seminars that would actually build the capacity in you to assume that position when it comes. So you should be able to set these goals for yourself and measure whether you've been able to achieve them at the right time. Apart from that, the A there stands for achievable. Your professional goals must be achievable. It must not be too ambiguous, something that is difficult to understand or achieve. That's why you should be able to set these goals based on actually your interest and your self-actualization. Don't say, with my BSc, I'll become the managing director. It's not possible. why not going for training? Why not going for conference? Or why not getting certified in some profession? So don't just make unrealistic goals. Ensure that you set the goals that you can be able to achieve at a particular time. Then the R there stands for realistic. You should be able to achieve this goal. It must be realistic. It must be something that is doable, and not just something that it only reflects on the pieces of paper. And lastly, the T there stands for a time bound or timely. There must be a time frame that your goal must cover. Is it short term, less than 1 year, medium term between 1 to 3 years, or long term from 3 to 5 years? These are long term, 5 years above. You must ensure that you have a time that you need to achieve these goals. The SMART paradigm is very important in setting goals because it gives you that guide in terms of what you want to do and how you want to do it. Number 3, still talking about how to write a career development plan. The third one is to identify your short-term goals. The second one was the identification of long-term professional goals, but this one talks about your short-term goals, what you need to achieve within 1 year, within 1 to 6 months, 1 to 12 months. So there should be the more immediate goals that contribute to long-term interest. Typically, this will include the skills and the experience you might need to get, and the challenges that must be overcome to meet these goals. Let's say you have a 10-year goal, a 10-year plan is a long-term goal, but your short-term goals are actually instrumental. They are the means to that end of that long-term goals. So your short-term goals will now be the experiences you learn every day, the experiences you hear, you acquire, from time to time, that you would build over time to achieve that long-term goals. The fourth one is to identify the activities for each goal. For example, list some activities that will help you achieve each goal, including how they will be accomplished. Common development activities might include identifying and cultivating a relationship with a mentor or a role model, somebody who will guide you. Apart from that, completing qualifications or training materials, reading other relevant materials, receiving coaching from co-workers, and what have you. These are some of the activities you must actually identify for each goal. This is what I want to be. Yes, that's the goal. No, what must you do to achieve this is actually what you need to do at this period. 5 is to identify positive tasks in your current role. Yes, you're working, but you must be able to sit down and do a reflection of what you're currently doing and align it with the goal you've set for yourself. Are you working currently? And does your current job actually fit into that long-term goal? If no, please look for a way to reassign yourself to a task or to a job role within the organization that would align you with the goals you've set for yourself. So define a task in your current role, in the current job you're doing, that are inhibiting you from achieving your long-term goals. You must also suggest ways to minimize them. I said earlier that managers or employers are selfish. They're looking for every opportunity to drive or to make employees work based on what that is the employers want for them, that's the employee. It is what the employer wants that employees will do, because of the fact that they have their own selfish belief and selfish orientation towards career plans. So you must identify the ones that are not actually working well with you. You may currently have a lot of customer focused tasks that are not relevant to you. In that situation, redistribute this task to other employees who are looking for this kind of task you are doing, and find the kind of tasks that will be suitable you know, for you. If you are working in marketing and your goal is HR, fine. Marketing is still where you can still learn, but you can, you know, track recruitment exercise in your organization and see where, identify when there's a vacancy. You can write to management that this is my flair, this is my passion, this is my career path, this is my career goals, and can you please help me get a transfer to HR where I love, stating reasons clearly to the management. Of course, they will see reasons to this and they will deploy you there. So you must ensure that you identify those tasks that are positively inclined to the career goals you've set for yourself. Apart from that, another thing you must do in writing your career development plan is to identify additional skills and experience that will be necessary and suitable for you. You cannot just sit down with what you've acquired from the 4 walls of a university or from the few trainings you've gone for or workshops you've attended. There's a need for you to identify or acquire, additional skills, because skills will always go obsolete. Skills will always expire. Skill that are applicable today might not be relevant tomorrow. Is a function of the dynamic business environment that we operate in. So you must write down any other additional skills, knowledge, or experience that you might like to acquire that may directly or indirectly help you in your current job or future positions. Identify them and see the ones that would be suitable for you. Still talking about how to write a career development plan, you must set out a timeline and define when and how the progress and activities and goals will be evaluated. You must decide when each activity and goal will be accomplished to help you define when each checkpoint should occur and decide on how each of these checkpoints will be carried out. You are going to Onitsha from Lagos, for instance. I'm sure we've all experienced it before. You are traveling, you see roadblocks by police or army or road safety and what have you. These are checkpoints where the checkpoints are actually for so many reasons. One, to reduce crime, to reduce accident, and to monitor passengers that are plying the roads. So the nature you are going, for instance, is the goal. So every checkpoint you stop, interfacing with police and other officials, are the short-term, activities you must embark upon to see whether you are still in line with what you have set for yourself. So checkpoints are those periodic assessments, periodic evaluation that we make to ensure that we are still working in line with the set standards and established goals. You have a 10-year plan, for instance, to become the HR manager. So you must ensure that at every quarter, so every three years, you do an evaluation. Okay, what have I achieved for the first 3 years? What relevant skill do I need, or have I achieved that will be necessary for where I'm going to? These are periodic checks that you must embark upon for your career development plan to be successful. We've come to the end of today's session. I'm sure you've gained one or two things. I want to thank you for listening and for paying attention all the while we've been talking. And I want to encourage you to send in your questions through the group chat, and any query you need us to talk about, please do not hesitate to do that. We'll trash it out. Thank you very much once again, and have a good day. Bye.